good afternoon everybody, and welcome to this 5th session for the Grow Together project. My name is Claire Bannerman and I'm the roving chef for Scotland for Vegetarian for Life. So Vegetarian for Life are a national charity and we support older vegetarians and vegans, but during lockdown we've enjoyed doing these virtual sessions for the wider community. So today's session has an Italian theme. I'm going to be doing some mushroom and corn carbonara, and that will be accompanied by a citrus cheesecake. So we'll start off with our carbonara. So today I'm using chestnut mushrooms. These are the brown mushrooms, but if you have button mushrooms or white mushrooms, it's absolutely fine to use these. The reason I like to use chestnut mushrooms is I feel that they've got a bit more flavour, but also they're really rich in vitamin D. So vitamin D is good for bone health and your overall well-being, but current research has shown that a diet that is rich in vitamin D reduces your risk of COVID, so that's something worth knowing. So let's start off by chopping the mushrooms. You can roughly chop these, you can make these as chunky or as fine as you like. So we're looking for about 100 grams of our mushrooms. Let's say I work for Vegetarian for Life. We have our own website, which is vegetarianforlife.org.uk. You'll find our recipe sections and details of the schemes that we have, such as our Pen Pal scheme and our grant scheme. So please feel free to check out our website. So I'm going to cook my mushrooms first, and the reason I'm going to do that is I find if you cook your mushrooms with the sauce, it makes your sauce a little bit grey in colour. So I'm just going to cook the mushrooms separately. So today, just for demo purposes, I'm going to cook my carbonara in a frying pan. You could just use an ordinary pan. I'm just using a frying pan for demo purposes so that you guys can see what's going on. So we'll get our pan on the heat, and today I'm using olive oil. I'm also going to bring a pan of water to the boil for our pasta. So I'll start off by sweating off our mushrooms, and we'll get them cooking down. So I'm going to add a good pinch of salt to the water for the pasta. So there's no need to add olive oil to your water for your pasta. Some people think it helps and prevents sticking, but it doesn't really make that much difference. You're just wasting your oil. So let the mushrooms start to sweat down. So the recipe calls for shallots. So my shallot's actually really big. I'm using a banana shallot today, so I'm just going to use one. So go ahead and chop that. So if you couldn't get shallots, by all means use an onion or leeks would work particularly well with this dish. I'm just going to roughly chop that down. So it's up to yourself how fine or chunky you like your shallots. Just peeling back that skin. And then just roughly chopping it. So just let the mushrooms continue to sweat down and they'll soften off and release their juices. So for good flavour in my carbonara, I'm going to use 2 cloves of garlic. So the garlic that I've been using recently is a large garlic. So it's not the actual bulb that's large, it's the individual cloves, so they're perfect for cooking. And you can get these in most supermarkets. I'm just going to lean on the garlic and that will pop the skin. And then I can just take it out 2 cloves. So you can see these are really nice big fat juicy cloves. So I'm just going to use the flat of my knife just to lean on the individual cloves, and that will pop the skin, and that way that will just peel off super simple. So if you couldn't get fresh garlic, by all means use the lazy garlic that you get in the tubes or jars. So I'm going to turn my heat down now. My mushrooms are starting to soften off nicely. So if you have a garlic crusher, by all means use a garlic crusher or a garlic press, but I like to use the fine side of my grater. Gives you a nice fine mince on your garlic, and it releases all those nice flavours. So I'm just going to go ahead and grate down my garlic. So the mushrooms will just take a few more minutes. So the pasta that I'm using today is just supermarket own brand. I'm using linguine. If you couldn't get linguine, feel free to use tagliatelle or spaghetti. So got a pan of lots of boiling water now. So the key really for pasta is lots of boiling water. And with the linguine, I find that it's easier to serve if you just break it in half, and then we'll go ahead and add that to the pan and just give it a little stir to make sure it's not sticking. So I'm just going to set a timer for that, so we'll let that go for 10 minutes. So now that my mushrooms have softened off, I can then go ahead and just transfer them to a bowl, and we'll come back to this. So I'm going to add in a good splash of olive oil to my pan here, and this is going to form the basis of our roux sauce. So traditionally our roux is made with butter, but today we're doing a vegan option, so I'm using the olive oil. So add my sliced shallot, and we start to fry that off. So your shallot's a bit milder and sweeter compared to the onion, and it cooks a lot quicker as well. So I say this dish is really nice if you want to use leeks in it as well. So as I say, Vegetarian for Life, we also have our own Facebook page, which is Beef for Life, where you'll find other cooking demonstrations available. The chef team that's based in England was recently at VegFest, so feel free to check out the videos from VegFest. So now that my shallots have sweated down for a moment or so, I can go ahead and add my minced garlic. So keep your garlic moving about the pan. The garlic can burn quite easy, so we'll turn our heat down a touch. So the smells are really delicious now. We've got that garlic softening off and the lovely smell of the shallots. So to form our roux, as I said, roux is traditionally butter. We're going to use the oil, and that is going to combine with flour. So I've got 2 tablespoons of plain white flour. So we want to just gently combine this all together. So at this stage, your sauce will be forming the roux base, and it'll look like breadcrumbs, so that's ideal. A lot of people are put off by a roux, they think they're doing it wrong, but the key is just to stick with it. So I'm using soy milk today, so you could do this with ordinary milk if you weren't vegan, but if you are using plant-based milk, make sure you get one that's unsweetened. And I'm just going to add a little touch, and we can start to really cook out that flour. So just add in a splash at a time. So at this point it will start to look a little bit lumpy. Don't worry about that at all. As the sauce cooks, those lumps will cook out. The key is to add your milk a little bit at a time, and a good tip is to have your milk at room temperature. So we can gradually add in that milk. So just have patience with this, don't rush it. You really want to cook out the flour. You don't want your sauce to have a raw floury taste, and it just takes a few moments at the start just to cook that out. So you see it's becoming a little bit like thick porridge at this stage, so that's what we're looking for, and then we can go ahead and add a little bit more milk, and I can turn my heat back up. So as the milk heats with the flour and the olive oil, it will start to form a nice glossy sauce. So if you preferred a more luxurious version, or perhaps you're looking to get some extra calories in your diet, you could use cream, and there's lots of vegan cream alternatives available in the supermarkets. So this is starting to smooth off now, and that flour is cooking out. We can add a little bit more milk and be a bit more generous with it at this stage. So we just want to keep combining that. And at this stage we'll give a seasoning, so I get a good generous pinch of salt. And I'm using ground black pepper, a good shake of black pepper. So if you wanted to spice it up, you could add a little bit of paprika and perhaps a little bit of chilli, that would be nice as well. So now our sauce has become really nice and smooth, so we can go ahead and add the remainder of the milk and turn our heat up. So as this milk warms through, it will start to emulsify and thicken to form our sauce. So just let that cook away. So traditionally carbonara is made with ham or bacon, so today I am using Quorn ham. So Quorn is suitable for vegetarians and vegans, and the Quorn replacement ham that they've produced is absolutely delicious. It's really smoky and gives a good flavour to your Quorn. So it's quite an unusual looking product. You find this in your chill cabinets in your supermarkets. It almost looks like slices of chopped pork, so I can assure you it's meat free, so we'll go ahead and slice that. So you can have it in chunks or dicey slices, however you like it. So I'm just going to roughly chop that. And then we can add that into our sauce. You'll feel that your sauce is starting to thicken up now. And then at this stage we can add our mushrooms back in. So you'll see the mushrooms have released a little bit of their juices as well. That's absolutely fine. The flour that's in your sauce will thicken. So at this stage it's still quite milky, don't worry about that, it will start to naturally thicken. So we'll let that cook away. So as I mentioned, we have our website, and our website has lots of free resources available. So firstly we have our Cooking for One, lots of really nice simple recipes to try, really ideal if you live alone, or perhaps if you're supporting somebody that lives alone that's shielding during lockdown. Really nice tasty recipes in there. We also have our vegan rescue pack. So the vegan rescue pack is perfect if you want to try some vegan recipes, or maybe you're looking to become vegan yourself. Really good hints and tips in there, but there's also comprehensive information on what a vegan will eat and what they won't eat, to make sure that you're getting a really good, nutritious, balanced diet. There's menu planners and lots of lovely recipes. So those publications are free to download, and also order a hard copy from our website. We've also got our one of our newest publications, which is our vegan baking guide. beautiful recipes in here. I love the banana bread, it's super simple. If you fancy doing something a bit more special, there's really nice recipes like brownies and Victoria sponges, so please feel free to order a copy of that. You can download it for free, or if you require a hard copy there's a small charge of £2. So my sauce is bubbling away now. I'm going to turn that heat off and just let that thicken up. So for a bit of colour and flavour, you could feel free to add a little bit of spinach, something like garden peas would be nice, and some fresh herbs. So any green leafy herb works well for this. So I'm using a really nice mild and versatile herb today, so I'm using flat leaf parsley. Perfect for growing with. At this time of year you would plant your seeds out, or ideal to grow on your windowsill. So today I'm just using supermarket bag of parsley. So if you are using bags of herbs, make sure that you wash them before you use them. And if you feel you've got lots of leftover herbs, ideal way to keep them longer is to freeze them. Just chop them up, mix them with a little bit of water and oil, and then you can freeze them in an ice cube tray. Once they're frozen, just pop them out into a freezer bag and store them in your freezer for a later date. Perfect for soups and stews, curries and casseroles. So I'm just going to roughly chop a little bit off my parsley. I'm going to use the stalks as well. And then I'll go ahead and add that. So our sauce is combined and become really nice and rich and creamy now. So because we took the time to cook out that roux, we don't have any lumps in it. It's nice and smooth and glossy. So the key to this recipe is really just to take the time at the start to make sure that you cook out your flour. So I'm going to go ahead and drain off my pasta, just excuse me a moment. And then I can add that drained pasta straight into the pan with my sauce. And then we can combine that. So take a few moments just to let the pasta absorb some of that nice sauce. So this dish is best served fresh. If you keep it overnight it goes quite thick, so it really is best served at the time that you make it. But if you are reheating it, reheat it in the microwave and just add a little bit more of your milk or your plant-based milk just to thin the sauce down a little bit. So we can go ahead and serve this. So get some of our pasta and then take spoonfuls of this lovely sauce. So this is one of my favourite dishes to make for my lunch because it virtually only takes about 15 minutes to cook. It's a super simple, fast dish. So then just to finish off, I'm just going to top with just a little bit of the fresh parsley, just for garnish on top. So there we have my super simple vegan mushroom and corn linguine. So I hope you do enjoy this dish, and if you try it, please send us some photographs. We'd love to know how you get on. So now we'll move on to dessert. So I'm going to make individual cheesecakes. This isn't a cheesecake that you would serve in slices, it's quite a soft dessert, so it's more of a pudding. So I'm going to start off by combining up my filling. So to start off with, I'm going to use some thick natural yogurt. So you can use Greek yogurt for this. Recently I'm been using the skier yogurt, and I really like this because it's 0% fat. Really lovely and creamy, and it's high in protein, so great if you're trying to get some extra protein in your diet. And with being fat free, it's reducing loads of calories out of a cheesecake, which is traditionally quite high in calories. So you would traditionally use double cream, and double cream is 40% fat, so we're completely taking the fat out of that part of the recipe. So go ahead and add my nice creamy yoghurt. So you can see it's really, really thick. So I wouldn't use natural yoghurt for this. Natural yoghurt would be too thin, but the Skier brand natural yoghurt is particularly thick and creamy because it is so high in protein. Then I'm going to use some soft cheese. So most supermarket owned brands that are similar to Philadelphia are quite low in fat, generally about 24% fat. The supermarkets have cut back the fat. So this is Creamfield's brand that I'm using. It's absolutely fantastic. Very similar to Philadelphia, and this is one of the brands that they're now selling in Tesco's. Fantastic value for money. It's less than 50p a pack. So go ahead and add our cream cheese. So we want to give this a good mix together. And so this cheesecake is the citrus. So what I'm using for the sweetness and the setting agent is some lemon curd. So lemon curd isn't suitable for vegans. I'm just doing a vegetarian version today. So if you wanted to do a vegan version, you could do strawberry or raspberry. So you could use some seedless raspberry jam or some strawberry jam. That would work absolutely perfect too. So generally I use supermarket owned brands. One thing to notice here is I'm using the Finest brand here. That's because it's thinner and smoother and it mixes better, but it's also really tangy and delicious. If you use the cheaper brands, it's too firm set, and when you try to mix it through, it just goes into small lumps. So make sure that you use a smooth lemon curd. So go ahead and add a few spoonfuls of our lemon curd. You see it's a really nice spoonable glossy lemon curd, really nice and tangy. So if you were using jam instead, you could use exactly the same quantities and methods. So just mix that together. So these are best served chilled and chilled in your fridge overnight. So for the base, we're going to use digestive biscuits. Normally I would use supermarket owned brand, but I've discovered this brand recently, which is Ms Molly's. They are such a bargain. They're only about 30p a packet and they taste fantastic. Completely comparable to McVitie's, which is over £1 a packet. So I would highly recommend Ms Molly's. So I'm just going to take a few of my biscuits. And I've got them in a small freezer bag. Then I'm just going to use my jar of lemon curd just to bash these down to make them into crumbs. So I can just use a wooden spoon, a jar or a can. So excuse me while it gets a little bit noisy. So this is, I'm going to do mine individual today, so I'm just using a dessert glass for this. So to set our biscuit base, I've got some butter, or you can use margarine, and we're going to melt this in the microwave, but take care, do this in 10-second bursts as it can melt quite fast. So we'll just pop that in there. So I'm going to top my my cheesecake with mandarins. Up to yourself how you decorate it. I'm just using canned mandarins. You could use a little bit of chocolate, you could use mixed berries, really any fruits that you like, but with mine being citrus, I find that the lemon curd and mandarin goes well together. So just soften that off. So as I say, just keep an eye on your butter when it's in the microwave. Just check it in 10-second intervals. So mine needs a little bit more. So as I say, we've got lots of videos available on our Facebook page, V for Life. If you are interested in vegan baking, my colleague Alex shows you how to make the chocolate cake, which is one of her new favourites. So please feel free to check out those videos. So now that my butter has melted, I'm going to take my individual serving glass and then take some off the crushed biscuits. So just form a layer in the bottom of your glass. So just taking a nice layer, and then we'll take a few spoonfuls of our melted butter or margarine. So you'll think you don't have enough, but you don't want to put too much of your melted butter in because it'll make it a little bit soggy. And then just get all those lovely biscuit crumbs coated with your butter or margarine, and then just flatten that down. So if you were doing that at home, I would set this in the fridge for half an hour first, but just for demo purposes today I'll just crack on. So I'll go ahead and add my lovely filling. So as I said, this is best served chilled, so I would chill this off overnight before serving. And then I would top it with mandarins just before I go to serve. So I've drained off my mandarins, and then we can go ahead and place these on the top. And as I said, you could decorate with chocolate, that would be nice as well. So thank you for joining me for this short session today. So here we have our mushroom and corn carbonara linguine and my lovely citrus cheesecake, a super simple recipe that's made in minutes, which is reduced calorie and it tastes absolutely fantastic. So thank you so much for joining me today for this session brought to you by the Grow Together project. Thank you.